Hello and good morning, it's Phil Thatch and I'm here this morning in downtown Chattanooga. I just went with some wildlife gear to the Curtain Pole Road area to try to do duck photography, and it just wasn't very good. But I also brought with me today, as I'm giving up on that plan, I also brought with me today my Z6 and my two new old Nikon 50mm lenses. This is the Nikkor H.C 50mm f2, which is a pre-AI lens. And this is the Nikkor 50mm f1.4 AI. So I'm just going to wander around downtown and play with these two lenses and see how things go. I'm going to try to shoot mostly wide open, but we'll see. I've never kind of wandered around to do street photography on a work day. This is a Thursday on a weekday in the morning. So this will be a new experience for me, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's pretty freaking cold, so I'm gonna have to go back to my car and put a jacket on top of this cool sweatshirt that I got for Christmas, and I'm ready to get started. I started out parked on the street. You know, I usually come to downtown Chattanooga after 5 p.m. and at that point, parking in the parallel parking spots on the road become free. Sometimes they're hard to find, but I'm usually pretty patient and pretty good at driving around until I find one, so I don't have to pay for parking. But now during business hours, all those spots cost money, and I put 75 cents in and that ran out pretty quick, and now I'm out of change. So I'm just gonna park in the Carta parking garage. This is the same garage that Heather and I did some photography off the roof of, and so I'm just gonna park here. But anyway, I started out using the 50mm f1.4 AI, and I'll show you those photos now, and I've switched to the pre-AI 50mm f2, and I'm going to continue. Okay, so this first set of photos is all with the 50mm f1.4 AI, and I made this shot of my vlogging camera as it sat there in the position where I made the very first shot in this video. And then this is not far from there. This is the drive-through area where the electric shuttles go through and drop people off and pick people up there at the base of the parking garage that I was in the second clip. Now this is one of the electrical boxes that's in downtown Chattanooga, and most of them have art on them, and this one has a climber because that parking garage also has a climbing facility. This is a piece of artwork that's there in downtown Chattanooga, and I'm at 1.4. Again, I'm at 1.4 for all of these shots, and you can see the focus kind of trailing away from the left to the right. And this is also at f1.4. I'm not sure if I was jaywalking or if I was crossing at the crosswalk, but I looked over and made this shot of the original building of the Tennessee Aquarium in downtown Chattanooga. I walked around with the pre-AI 50mm f2 Nikkor. I like it. I don't know, definitely you lose that extra shallow depth of field, obviously. I think I prefer using these vintage lenses on my X-T3 instead of this Z6. I think the focus peaking is a better guide with the X-T3 than these. I don't know, I'd have to, you know, A/B it right there in your hand, but it just seems like I have better luck getting the shots in focus when I'm using the X-T3. Of course, now I haven't done it in a kind of a fast-paced situation like this. You know, I'm not taking a long time. I'm just kind of, as soon as I see red on my subject, I fire, because street photography is a little different than taking your time making shots around the house. But I've switched to a different lens. I have the Yashica Auto Yashinon DX 50mm f1.7 on the camera now. It's a M42 mount lens, so I've had to switch adapters. I took the FTZ off and I have an M42 to Nikon Z adapter on. And I'm going to walk around some more and try this one. In the meantime, you can take a look at some of the shots I got with the Nikkor pre-AI 50mm f2. I had no idea that there was a place in downtown Chattanooga where people blow glass, but this is open air. He's inside the building, but there's no glass in between me and him working on this blowing glass, and I really like this photograph right here. You know, a lot of people do square crops on street photography these days, but I like this. I think is a 16:8 widescreen of this man walking down the street. I thought he looked really cool. And then this one is a square crop, and I thought both of these looked better in black and white. I wanted someone to walk by at the very end of this alley, and the best I could get was someone across the street from this alley. But look at all of this color. This is the most beautiful shot of the morning, at least in terms of color. This is a fountain slash man-made waterfall that's in front of a hotel in downtown Chattanooga, and I made this shot right at minimum focus distance with the 50mm f2. And then this is some holly bushes that are near there. This is also pretty close to minimum focus distance with some headlights and traffic lights bokeh-fied in the background. And then I also made a photograph of this fella. He was sitting in his delivery vehicle sipping on some coffee, and I walked past him and I said, you know what, that looks pretty cool, and I came back and made this shot. Okay, now let's take a look at the photographs I made with the Yashica Auto Yashinon 50mm f1.7 vintage M42 mount lens. All of these shots that I did with the Yashica lens were wide open at f1.7, and this one I probably could have stopped down a little bit and would have been fine. And I did specifically move to where that mural was in just the right spot in the background. And this Budweiser delivery man was really polite. He paused and said, "Am I in your shot?" And I said, "Dude, you are my shot. Come on in." And as he did, I snapped this photograph, and I thought it came out pretty cool. And this shot is a selfie I made pointing my camera at this reflective glass on this building, and you can see the background. I thought the cross traffic stopped just right, and I thought this sign was really cute for this Ankar's restaurant downtown, pointing you into the restaurant, and I thought the bokeh-fied background looked pretty cool as well. And speaking of bokeh-fied, I thought this photograph of these Chattanooga rental bicycles were the first ones clearly in focus, and they drift completely out of focus in the background. I thought this one turned out pretty cool as well. Well, it's funny because just the other day, maybe a week or two ago, I made a video all about how I prefer to use telephoto lenses for street photography. I even talked about using a 55-200 on APS-C, which goes all the way to 300mm, and a 50-250 that goes all the way to 375. And now today here I am doing street photography on full frame with 50mm primes. They all did pretty well. The 50mm f2, the pre-AI lens, has the worst minimum focus distance. And even with that, I did some kind of close shots where I have a kind of a rule of thirds subject with the background bokeh-fied. So, you know, it's probably 6 inches less close on its minimum focus distance than the other two, but it still did fine. The 50mm f1.4 Nikkor AI lens probably has the most chromatic aberration wide open, but they all have chromatic aberration wide open. And you know, you might say, well, if you'll just stop it down some, then it'll probably get rid of that. And you're exactly right. But you know, if I'm going to stop it down, I might as well use a kit lens because they look great wide open at 3.5 or 4. You know, if you're going to stop it down, what are you using a prime lens for in the first place? So that's kind of my philosophy there. But I had a great day today. It was a nice morning, a little cold, but it was a nice morning walking around in Chattanooga making photographs with vintage 50mm fast primes. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.